Next is a Senate recognition of Senator Kamlager. The first speaker, Senator Skinner.
Thank you, members. I'm proud to have been selected to honor our colleague from Los Angeles today. Now, some of you might be familiar with the puppet shows and the videos that our colleague does, titled Watch Wednesdays, to explain how things get done in the state capitol. Earlier this year, she did a hilarious puppet show about the state budget that went viral on social media. So today, I thought I would do a short puppet show of my own. Hey, Sydney, what's up? Hey, Nancy, yo, what's up? Well, Sydney, we're here to honor the 4 baller years, baby, you've had in the California legislature, including the last year and a half or so in the state Senate. Fighting for equity and ending discrimination, baby. It all started with your AB 242 in 2019 in the Assembly. That was your first piece of major legislation, established a curriculum to ensure that attorneys understood implicit bias in the criminal justice system. AB 242 also established that training for judges, trial court managers, supervisors, and other court staff who routinely interact with the public. Hot damn, that was baller, baby. But that's not all. In 2019, you received the Humane Society's Legislator of the World. Why not? Legislator of the Year Award. And in 2020, you authored the Criminal Justice Reform Measure, AB 1950, which Governor Newsom signed into law, putting reasonable limits on probation terms so that those who've completed their terms and their supervision can better transition to jobs, education, and more. In 2021, you authored AB 118, establishing the Crisis Act pilot grant program to expand the participation of community-based organizations in emergency response for vulnerable populations. And hold up, you also authored AB 962 in 2021, which specified that reusable glass beverage containers can be included in the California Beverage Container Recycling and Litter Reduction Act. Yo, that's not all. I should have done that better. I mean, yo, that's not all. In the state budget, where I'm the baller, you secured funding for the City of Los Angeles Conga Kids, for Growing Communities Urban Farming Initiative, for Destination Crenshaw, for Cornerstone Housing for Adults with Disabilities, and more. As I said, baller. Yo, baby, you got it. Even without the puppets, Sydney does videos to explain what's happening in the Capitol. Before the approps dump, she explained about that process, and she held up celery and said she was eating it to stay healthy, because we're gonna get fiscal, And then she talked about, in another Watch Wednesday, monkeypox. And she told, on the video, she told callers, so she's putting this out, she told callers to her office to stop harassing her staff when they called and to stop using monkeypox to, in her words, embolden your own homophobic tendencies. In all seriousness, Sydney, you have truly, and that was serious, you have truly made a mark in your short time here in the Senate, leading the LA caucus, carrying groundbreaking legislation, and sharing some very powerful and passionate remarks on the floor on a whole host of things beyond just your bills. It's been a true pleasure working with you, and I especially enjoyed our time together serving on the Committee on the Revision of the Penal Code and also in the Public Safety Committee. And we did there what I know you'd advise everyone here on this floor, as well as your successor, which is to make some good trouble. And as you reminded some of us last night, we are family. My colleagues and I have great respect for your work, and so now, soon to be Congresswoman Kamlager, please go get in some good trouble in Washington, D.C.
Senator Bradford.
I'm going to start with an apology after following that. You know, you might not want me to speak, Senator Kamlager, but that was a great presentation. But I am honored, too, to just say a few words about my friend, my colleague, and as we all say, we're family, but she is truly my sister. And we have a unique bond because in Greekdom, she's a member of Zeta Phi Beta sorority, and I'm a member of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, the only brother-sister organization in Greekdom. And so that's where I first met Sydney almost 20 years ago. And I call her, she's eclectic elegance. And she's so articulate, and I just love hearing her speak. I'm gonna miss her on the floor with her passion. When you talk about a warrior, that's a warrior right there. She's not afraid of, you know what I usually say to her when I say that, because she's not afraid of anything. And she has your back, and I'm gonna miss looking across, be it in approach, be it on criminal justice, public safety, and all the other committees that we sit on to get a nod to see where she is, because I know when there's a tough vote, she's gonna be there. She's gonna fight. She has been fighting for women's rights since I've known her. And a lot of folks don't know, she's the only child of a very prominent actress. Her mother's a very noted actress, and she could have easily gone in that vein. And as her mother stated, she loved to read, and if you want to hide something from Sydney, don't put it in writing, because she reads everything. She reads in committee, she reads on the floor, she reads on the plane. I'm like, I take a nap on the plane. She's reading the whole time. And she's just well-read on everything that she deals with. She's an amazing wife, a loving mother, a ride-or-die friend, as I stated. She did amazing work when she was assistant to Holly Mitchell when they ran Crystal Stairs, and then when Senator Mitchell was elected to the Assembly and Senate, she came to be her district director, where she was always present in the community, always speaking up for the voiceless. And it's going to be a great loss to this body, but it's going to be a tremendous gain for Congress to have someone who is as committed to the issues that matter most. As stated by my friend from Berkeley, for fighting for women's rights. She sits on the board of Planned Parenthood Los Angeles. She was on Spark, which was a public agency that dealt with the arts. She's passionate about the arts. She's passionate about pets. And you talk about the videos that she did. One of the most touching videos was when she lost her dog earlier this year. And I don't think you could have been shown more love and appreciation, even for a human being. It was beautiful. And I cried. And I went over and told her, I said, it was one of the most beautiful tributes you could have ever made, because that's who she is. She's a beautiful individual, inside and out. And don't let that little demure presence fool you. She will cut you. And really, she's the real deal. I don't mean physically, but I mean she will cut you up. She can dress you up and down. She'll let you know where you stand. You know, it's no misunderstanding of where she's coming from, but she does it from the heart. She does it for love. A lot of folks don't know she was also an assistant to Delroy Lindo, another very prominent actor. She could have gone in that direction if she wanted to, but this is where her passion is, serving. And like many of you, she's not termed out. She made the decision to go to Washington. And that in of itself shows who she is, and she's willing to take on that fight because it's no way I would probably want to go to Washington right now in the midst of craziness, but she's ready for it, and she can handle it. She's been a great colleague with the Legislative Black Caucus as serving as vice chair while I've been chair. Like I said, I couldn't ask for a more committed colleague, and she almost single-handedly organized the LA County delegation and has made it effective and made it relevant, something that it hadn't been recognized in decades. And she put that all together almost single-handedly, and it's bipartisan. And we've dealt with everything from homelessness to you name it. She's tackled it and bringing this caucus together, this delegation together, I should say. So she will be missed. It's going to be big shoes to fill, and whoever takes on that role. But you gave a fine example and laid a good roadmap on what leadership looks like. And like I said, I'm going to truly miss you, but I know you're going to go off to do great things. Like I said, her tenure here in the legislature has been short, but her impact will be long-lasting and not forgotten. So thank you, my friend.
Senator Kamlager, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm verklempt. I am always the outlier. I want to thank my two colleagues for your heartfelt words and humor. I want to thank the pro tem for your patience and endurance with me. You know, I listened to all of the gracious eloquence over the past few days of the outgoing members and colleagues who spoke about their tenure. And the recap was that Wykowski needs a podcast, that Nielsen shared about history and honor, and there was a recap of Bad Boys somewhere in there. With Dr. Pan, I wasn't able to see his shoes, but that didn't mean that we didn't hear about his kindness and commitment to children. Senator Leyva and her commitment to justice and equity and kindness, and reminding that for us as well. Senator Borges, with his thoughtful questions and his quest for the rational and his gentlemanliness always. Senator Melendez, who really is a pack of dynamite. Senator Hertzberg, who seems to be in the driver's seat, not just for the Honorable Dimely, but for bills as well, in the front, sometimes in the back, sometimes in the middle. And Senator Waso, who truly is an honorable and most interesting man. And the common thread, when I listened while I was out, was the thread of thanks, giving thanks, thanks. And it made me think of a quote that has been staying with me for a while now. It's actually a quote from Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers. And the quote is, anything that is human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. And he was talking about feelings and fears. And so I'd like to just share a few of mine, if you allow me. I have great feelings of gratitude and sadness. I've had a great staff that I will be leaving. And staff, you know, support me, but staff support all of us, and they uphold this institution. I want to give a shout out to my chief of staff, Nikki Johnson, and my ledge director, Howard Kwan. Howard said, you better mention us. Balkis Awan and Megan Garrison, my scheduler, and Bryn Sullivan. And you know, this little group, it's small and mighty and has been with me from the days of the assembly. Hello. I'd like to thank our travel staff and the nurses and the sergeants and the night crew. I used to hang out and dance with Late Night Larry. He would come in after hours to clean our offices, and we'd do a little jig while he collected the trash. I'd like to thank all of the committee staff who help us. A special shout out to those in Rules and Budget and Public Safety, Chinook and Ina and Elisa and James and Joe, and the governor has Joe now, but I still say he's ours. And Mary and Gabe, rest his heart and soul, Stella, Alex, Kip, Chris, Bernie, the Legislative Council, McLeana, Erica, Stephanie, Sarah, and Jared, and many of your staff, because you know how it is, many of your staff help others' members' staffs. And so I just want to thank you all for having great teams with you, because your teams help my team be better. And those teams, they show us their heart and their kindness and their commitment to this institution. I want to share and mention some feelings of honor and tension, I think mentioned by both of my colleagues in talking about my work. You know, I like policy that is meaningful and complicated and uncomfortable. I know I make people uncomfortable. I know I talk about issues that need sunlight. Issues like addiction and poverty and discrimination and subjugation and prison rape and prison life and mental health and poverty and worker suicide. I mean, there are no daisies. There are no daisies in that lineup of issues. Maybe the state bar, but even that's intense. But I care about these issues because we rarely talk about them. And all of these issues are connected to stories of real people who've had real trauma in their life because the state, because policies weren't there for them. And I tell you, in the incarcerated world, this is a group of people that still have faith in this state and in the system. And my God, they have the most amazing amount of forgiveness for a system that rarely wants to see them as human. And I'm just trying to honor those stories. Because when we're here making policy, it's about making California better and closer to the California dream that we espouse, that many of us are so grateful to enjoy. I was so excited to hear the senator from Jefferson State talk about how we would have rockin' times in the back of the chambers and the pew. You know, I came into the assembly and I was a class of one. I came into the Senate and I was a class of one in COVID. And this time has been isolating for me and incredibly short because of it. And maybe I missed out on some additional connections. As the good senator from Gardena mentioned, I'm a proud member of the California Legislative Black Caucus. And in the caucus, we work to elevate African-American issues and faces and bodies. And you know, I say this on occasion, as you all know, I am the only African-American senator, female senator here. But often, if not always, I'm the only African-American woman on this floor, on the floor, not just the senators. I'm sometimes the only African-American woman on the dais, in committee, even with committee staff present, notwithstanding members of the public. I mention that to make it more manageable, because believe it or not, I have to remind myself of that sometimes when we're talking about hard issues. And you know, when you're in the middle of something and you want to look at someone, you want to see yourself. You want to see yourself in a space because it helps you recognize that it's real. And sometimes it can be very hard to find grace in this space when you look out, you see no one else that looks like you. And so if it's hard for me, I can only imagine how it feels like for other staff who work in this institution that also look like me, hunting for a familiar face to just center us in this very important work. So, in a state with 40 million people, I think there's some room for a few more African American women in all kinds of spaces, and I would just ask this body to consider that, because it is hard to have to look into the mirror to find a friend. And it's not about race, but it really is about representation. You know, it's also about difference. And difference is beautiful. Difference is a gift. It truly is. And in spite of our differences, right? Rural versus urban, coastal versus inland, red versus blue, Dodgers versus Giants, soybean versus silicon. Those differences are what give this body its texture and the opportunity to really work on things that will make a difference. You know, serving as a state senator is an awesome job. It is an honorable job. As Senator Borges said, it is a job that very few of us have had the privilege to serve. But it's not the best job. The best job that we have is being in a healthy, honest, meaningful relationship with someone who loves us. And that job requires us to receive, to return, and to replicate that love in kindness and in empathy and in honesty. And I think that you all believe that too, because I have found kindness and friendship from many of you. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart.